We did make some improvements on our growing techniques out here, and you can just see it in the crop. What we're kind of finding out is when we're cutting them back, we used to cut them back pretty hard, and now we lightened up on our trimming a little bit in the springtime, and now we're getting a great flush on that. So I kind of made it a little bit of note if people are kind of cleaning up the yards or anything like that for the following year, cleaning up their garden centers, and you want to cut them back, only cut back some of that new growth that it made from the prior year. You don't want to get into that hard wood. That it just stunts it way too much for it to kind of flush back out. So that's kind of a little tip there, but it's really known for the butterflies, filling that clutter in there. And then yesterday driving around, I've seen the butterflies on those, seen them on hydrangea. So this is definitely one that gets the attention of the butterflies. And the crop's looking great in that 3 gallon, and there's 250 of those on availability. Next up, we got the grass, this Shenandoah, the switchgrass. This one, the color's not there yet, but as soon as the kind of the cool nights come along, it starts pushing out those red blooms, the crimson bloom on the blades. What we want to keep note on this is when we're growing this here is the rust, and so we do have a rust program. We do have a rust spray program for the rust, and that's what we do to kind of keep the leaves looking so good. And also if people just don't want to spray as much, what we could do to help is you could actually just change the water time. So instead of watering at night or when the garden center closes up, you just water it during the day, and just letting that foliage dry. That's the thing, is you don't want that foliage wet. That's what really promotes that rust to develop. So that's one thing you want to note to your customers, that you want to keep the foliage dry. Now, the grass, this is a native grass, so we don't have to worry about this one, like in Scanthus in the future, becoming on the invasive list. But so this one's actually a pretty good one, and with the colors that it develops in the fall time, it's a really good one. And we have 1,000 loads on availability. Next up, we got Incredibles hydrangeas. This is a 7 gallon. We did just roll these back on because they're just now coming back out of that flush, and so they're starting to look good. And because of that, we got another trim on them. They set another bloom, so you'll have some sporadic blooms. It's not going to be as heavy as the first round in the spring, but you'll still get some white blooms on there for the customers, and the leaves look fantastic. They look clean. We just kind of do that. We trim stuff back just to kind of keep stuff looking great for you guys all the time. And Incredible, that was selected out because of that sturdy stalk that it has. It doesn't flop over as easy as some of the other ones. So, but that huge bloom that it gets is really what it's well known for. So just keep that in mind. We got 100 of those right now, and we can push out some more, but 100 is what we're starting off with. So next up, we got Incredible Blush. We just put these on as well, just because we just trimmed these back, and now they're pushing again. Once again, Annabelle, those ones are an early bloomer hydrangea. But we trim them back just to kind of reset that new bloom on them. An Incredible Blush, that's a pink one. So that one's a really good color. Once again, the foliage looks great on it, nice and clean on those, and it's an early blooming pink too. So if you want that landscaper to get that color in that landscape early in the springtime, this is the one that does it. So this is one to keep in mind. There's we roll out 250 of these on the availability. Next up, we got just to show you guys where Pinky Winky's at, and some of the other hydrangeas that we got. This is the 3 gallon, and this one now, the paniculatas are a little later blooming than the Annabelles, so they're pushing out right now. But this one, even though it's a pink color, Pinky Winky's the name, the pink won't really develop until you start getting those cooler nights. So that's kind of one of the things you want to tell your customers. You're not going to see the pink on them yet. You're going to start seeing them a little bit later. So if you're shipping these to the south, up here, you're going to see those later than the customer is shipping to the north. So they're all at their own little pace there of when they're actually going to start developing kinks. So just keep that in mind and tell that to the customers too. That just don't let the new fully, it will develop into a kink later on. And there's over 2,000 of these on availability. Strawberry Sunday, this one was kind of a strain out of the vanilla strawberries. The vanilla strawberry was a really great one, and Strawberry Sunday it's a really great one too because it doesn't get too big for areas. So this one's actually a really good for around landscape of houses. It's got the stiff branching just like the cousin of the vanilla strawberry, so it's still got that stiff branching. But once again, the cool night's bringing on that pink. So right now, just we're starting to see the plumes on there. They're starting to develop, starting to open up. And we trim these a little later in the summertime, or not later, but early in the summertime. So we have a different stage of the buds than other customers. But we do that just to kind of develop that bottom branching. Some customers out there they don't trim them back, and they'll have a little bit more bud development right now, but they don't have a bottom. So we take the extra time, we trim them back, we try to get that bottom developed so you have a great looking plant. And all that's going to do is just development of the flower. It's not going to diminish the number of blooms or anything like that, because all the paniculas, they all bloom on new wood, so we'll never get the new flesh that's going to develop on that. Flea beetle hasn't been a big problem this year. On a few things it has, but these hydrangeas have been really clean. So just keep that in mind as well. There's 700 of those on availability. Next up, we got the juniper blue stars. They're really great color. I mean, if you want some blue in the landscape, this is the kind of stuff you wanna do. We have plenty of these, and the disease is they're less susceptible to that tip blight. You got customers that always have problems with that tip blight. I would definitely push them towards buying this type of juniper. They are less susceptible to that. They're great for rock gardens and low growing areas. Next up, we got Magnolia, Virginia glaucas. Here's the 7 gallons. We got these only at 36 inches on the card or Great Plains card, but there you can see the tip on them. They're tipping 48, so definitely always want to top these up. Now these sweet bay magnolias are pretty tough if you go a little further south, but here what we do for them is we have to have them in a pot area, and also we have to put them under plastic in the wintertime. This type of magnolia, we have to give them that little bit of extra protection for this area. And but if you go further south, you won't have a problem at all. Like Columbus or anything like that, you should be great for that. So you want to talk those up, and also the flowers a little bit different than the other ones. These ones are showy, fragrant white flower than the normal pinks and purples that we normally carry. So just stock those up, 175 of those. Next up, we got the fine line. So we got the fine line fernleaf buckhorn. So this is an excellent plant if you're doing different type of hedging materials for backyards. You want to give it that little soft texture. A lot of landscapers use this all the time, and garden centers generally sell these pretty easily just because of that different texture. A lot of people do arborvitae for background jobs, or you can do rose of Sharon for background jobs, but this gives you that little bit of extra texture that those other ones don't provide. So if the garden centers will, if they're overwintering these too, in the springtime, you want to mention to them just keep back up the water on those in the springtime. It's really easy to get yourself into a situation where everything else is popping out, everything else is popping. These pop out maybe a couple weeks later than a lot of the other things. So you definitely want to back up the water in the springtime when you're overwintering and stuff like this. But it has that great upright column shape to it. They have it, and then deer resistant. They you develop a little bit of a berry on there in the fall time. Some people can talk that up, but I don't because I don't really notice it much myself. But it's there. I mean, if you go out there and look at it, I mean, when you start losing all the leaves, you'll definitely see the berry there. But they're definitely great for hedging material. There's 1,900 of these on availability in that 7-gallon container. Next up, we got PGM Elites. These are 7-gallon squats. These are just a great looking point of how enormous they are for that 7-gallon, how full they are, how much bud development they got. When we were bringing our distributor out here that actually provides the liners, they actually had to take a lot of pictures on these rhododendrons, just because of how well we did with their product. I mean, they're just selling us something in a little inch by inch cell there, where we're taking that little plant and we're growing it into the 7-gallon container, and it's just a monster to their eyes. So, and they just had to keep taking a lot of pictures when they were out here this past month ago or so. But they get this in the springtime. They'll get that lavender pink for the early spring bloom. They're definitely a full 24 inches, and they're you also want to talk up the our copper system that we use. I know we mentioned it time and time again, but that system is what makes us these rhododendrons different than anybody else. I mean, it showed from our distributor that our systems, our technique, the high tunnel, keeping that rain off it, has really developed this plant into what it should look like. I mean, you get a lot of other growers out there that you grow a PGM in a 7-gallon, but there's nothing that compares to this. There really isn't. And if you just get that customer just to try a couple, he'll still see the difference. He'll take these every time over any other vendor. But they're definitely great quality. There's over 1,000 of these on availability, and definitely well worth the value. Next up, we got Spirea Gold Mound. They have lots of buds right now, so this is a crop we do trim back. We do trim back multiple times throughout the summertime, just so that way we get that fresh looking crop. And that's something, if you got anybody on the garden center that has some Spirea that just can't move them anymore, you just want to mention to them that just give them a little trim back, and they'll definitely flush out. They'll definitely pop with a new set of buds there, and then they won't have this old red looking stock anymore. Keep the Spirea trim back. Thuja whipcord. This is just a western red cedar that was selected out just because of how it grows, and unique branching habitat. This one developed. It just kind of made it its own little plant, that you can use for rock gardens or little pumpkin heads. I've seen that before. But for the hair dreadlock look. But sometimes when nurserymen are growing plants, we're growing plants for the need, right? So everybody just needs this plant for this, that, and the other, and they need it. But sometimes as a nurseryman, you just want to grow a plant because it's cool looking. And that's why we grow this one. I mean, that's there's nothing else to it. I mean, we all like plants, but we sometimes we just gotta sit back and I know people can't make a hedge out of these, block off their neighbors, but there is a need for these, and that's why we grow them. And they're just so unique looking. They're just awesome. Awesome to see them out there.
Okay, we're going to be showing varieties right now that are they're still in bloom, good flowers, good for your summer sales. The anemone called pink. This one is still flowering. It's lots of buds and blooms in this. It's a continuous bloomer on this one. This is the beauty of this variety. But right now, for the varieties of this selection, this one is really, really nice. The next one that's coming in, there was a limited number of these put on. We still have some small ones that I was able to put on some of these. This is the Anemone Fantasy Pocahontas. As you can see, it's more of a lighter pink, but it's also full of quite a few buds and blooms. the Icentra luxuriant. This right here is you want to try to grab this is right now because usually this variety really just sort of fades out during the hot summer season. But right now, as you can see, I even got some in the back. I still have some that's got some buds and flowers on them, and the foliage is still nice and clean. Echinaceas, there's two echinacea varieties. If you have customers who want some echinaceas, focus on these two varieties right here. Echinacea Perry Splendor, we just put these on. They're full of buds, it's a nice pink flower. But like I said, and then go ahead to the next one. This is the Echinacea Summer Solstice. We had this on last week, but this is short, compact, and it's full of flowers. So if you got customers who want echinaceas, these are the two varieties you really want to focus on for this week. Geranium Roseanne, there's always a big demand for these, and finally they're starting to come out of their trim, full of buds and blooms, and they're pot full. So I basically just put the entire crop on. So by the time you sell through, they should all be ready then. They have flowers and they have buds on them, full of color. So and there's another one. Here is the Hypericum Glory, nice bright buds and flowers on these. So I mean, almost all the varieties of Hypericums are on, but these are the two ones out the farthest. So you want to focus on those two varieties if you want to do Hypericums. Ligustrum Vicaris, I can't say no more about this. This is an older crop. It is as you can see, it is just the foliage is all the way to the bottom. Bright yellow foliage and everything like this. This plant would not disappoint. Good for shrubs and for landscape jobs and everything like that. And we have quite a bit of this. You can almost roll around this crop. This is a very excellent crop. And nice clean leaves, foliage and everything like that. This is like Ligustrum Vicaris, outstanding job with this. Lismachia, this is the second crop. Jeff trimmed this in 2 different cycles. This is the second crop now moving to current. It's not as full as the other one, but still, as you can see, it's can full and it's overflowing on the pot. So it makes a great ground spreader. The leaves on these are nice and clean. There's no burnt foliage on it, so you won't be disappointed on this variety right here. Rose Double Knockout. I mean, this is the bare root crop. As you can see, this crop is doing an excellent job right here. It's good, clean foliage, nothing wrong with the leaves, and you can see this back. I pull this one now, this crop is almost row run. I mean, it's a beautiful, excellent crop. So if you want roses, the double knockouts, this would be a good starting to creating your orders, so you won't be disappointed. So focus on double knockout 3 gallons. The pink knockout is about a week behind the double knockout, but it does have some buds and blooms on it. The foliage is still red, but still, you won't be disappointed. It's got some good shelf life on this. Now, this is the 2 gallon pink knockout. And then the last of the variety of roses you want to focus on is the Sunny Knockouts. Nice, good, clean foliage, and this one is the 2 gallons. These 3 varieties are mostly what you focus on because there was a major trim on all the roses. So if you want roses, just look back on this and focus on those 3 varieties. Okay, this is the Rudbeckia Glitter Like Gold. It's not showing color yet, but this picture's not showing it very well, but it's loaded with buds and everything like that. This is the second season we got this crop, and I really like it. This is a good variety. It doesn't get too much with any mildew or anything like that. It's not a very disappointing variety. So, but if you're looking for Rudbeckias, focus on the Glitter Gold, and I put these on yesterday. Okay, Sinocarpus Magic Avalanche. These are full of flowers. And which means is within another 2 weeks, they're going to be full of berries. But both varieties I wind up putting the remaining of the crop on. The next picture would be the Sweet Sensation. And like you see right here, you can't see it, but it is full of tiny pink flowers. And those flowers will just turn into these beautiful pink light berries as the season goes on. Thank you. Like I said, just full of flowers, and which means all those flowers will be turning into berries. Okay, Syringa boomerangs. The foliage in this is nice and clean. It's full. It's making really great size. It's starting to get some buds on them. It's not heavy with buds and blooms at this time, but this is a summer plant. It really thrives really well in the heat and everything like that. So we will have some on there, but like I said, I have a lot of these. They're put into current. But like I said, sell for foliage. It is starting to get buds and blooms, but it's not heavy with it yet. So just mostly sell this for the foliage.